Welcome to Speaking Without Censorship.
Hello everyone, welcome back to SWC. It's Brittany and Ariana here reporting from Sunset Park, Brooklyn. Today we're here with David Yaski, who's running for Senate in New York's 26th district. But before we jump into a couple of questions, one thing to know, the Senate district map has been modified as a result of the 2020 census data. Now, thank you, David, for being here today. I know last week New York City has experienced a heat wave, but we're glad that, it has gotten better.
Yes.
So tell us, why are you running for state Senate?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for, waiting until the heat wave has lessened a little bit. It's very pleasant here in the shade in the park. I'm running because I have worked in government and as a policy activist most of my career, from working for Chuck Schumer in Washington, D.C., helping to pass Brady Law and assault weapons ban, and then serving in the New York City Council and passing laws that made more affordable housing, that increased the number of jobs in film and TV production. Worked a lot with the public schools in the district, helping to turn them around in some cases from schools that were really poor schools to schools that are now excellent. So I know that government can make a difference, and I am running now because I think that the neighborhoods in this district and the city and state as a whole are facing real challenges. Here in Sunset Park, it's an educational crisis almost. The schools are crowded, and still too many parents feel like they don't have a good option for their children, and a lot of parents feel like their voices aren't even being heard by the system. So I want to go to Albany because the state legislature is a place you can fix problems like that, and that's what I intend to do.
Excellent point, David. That brings us to our next question. Regarding education, one of your achievements in council, what I noticed, was the turnaround of PS8.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what was your strategy or strategies to turn into a half-empty, underperforming school into an in-demand pillar of the neighborhood?
Well, it started with the principal. That school had two principals in a row who good people, but they just weren't up to that job. And as a result, the school population shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. So I went to the Board of Ed, then Department of Ed, and met with the district supervisor, ultimately with the chancellor, and said, this school needs a new principal. And they brought in a terrific principal who had been in the Board of Ed schools for several years, and then we went on like almost a road show of doing meetings with small groups of parents in the neighborhood, with the civic associations, to say we want to build PS8 into a school that the neighborhood is excited to go to. And we also put in some funds to spruce up the lunchroom, which had become pretty ratty, and get some more science equipment, which it needed. And the first group of parents kind of got persuaded, okay, we think this can turn around, and they went there and they were happy, and then they told more folks, and within a few years the reputation had completely turned around.
If you were elected to serve as state senate, what would your policies be to ensure public safety?
Okay, first, we got used to a New York City where people felt comfortable walking on the streets, even in parks, after dark, without a thought, would go take the subway. And that has changed now, and that's a problem. As I'm talking to folks at subway stops and supermarkets, I hear all the time people saying, I just don't want to go on the subway. Now, it used to be if I went I'm on the subway. That was kind of my downtime. Now I have to constantly be looking around and anxious. And, there are a few things. First, we need effective policing. And that means that we're not, some people talk about defund the police. Police officers play an important role in our community and our, society. They're an important part of the government. So we need policing, and we need police officers who feel like they are valued and respected. At the same time, we also need policing that is respectful of the community. I mean, it works both ways, and we've had way too much incidents of police officers mistreating, frequently young men of color, and that kind of causes some of the friction that goes both ways. So we need police officers to be, trained and to understand that they are accountable to the citizens, and we need the police department to be run that way, which I think Mayor Adams is 100% behind. And we need the community to work with law enforcement and respect the job that the police officers are doing. So effective policing is part one. Two, we need to stop the flow of guns coming into New York. Most guns used in crime are not sold in stores in New York. They're sold out of state and brought in here. The Supreme Court has made that harder, but we can still do it. The next step should be working with other states, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, to create an interstate gun trafficking enforcement regime where the states collaborate, share information, and share their enforcement resources. And then the third is to do a better job of getting homeless folks the help that they need. Part of what is making people uncomfortable on the subways is the fact that now we have so many people living on the subways, and a lot of them are in real distress. The pandemic took a real mental health toll on a lot of the population. And for people who were homeless at the start of it, or just kind of hanging on, to have that period of isolation and that period where the facilities that they relied on, the clinics, the food pantries were shut, was an incredible stress. And I think it it made people who were still functioning a lot less functional. And we're not doing people any favors by saying, okay, great, you can live on the subway. We need to invest in supportive housing for people with mental health and substance abuse issues so that they can live and get the services that they need to be well. We need to have crisis intervention centers where somebody who is in an acute period of distress can go for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to stabilize, and then be able to make decisions for themselves about what kind of a housing situation they want to be in. So to me, those are the three prongs: the policing, the guns, and helping homeless folks.
Okay, thank you. What does democracy mean and look like to you?
Oh boy. Okay, democracy to me means widespread participation. I mean, here everyone has, well, not everyone, but all citizens have the right to vote. But that doesn't mean that still isn't democracy if people don't feel that they are empowered and don't participate, at least by voting. The turnout in the last election in June was just, terribly low. And the Board of Elections, bears some of the responsibility by having 2 primaries scheduled in the middle of summer. Anyway, so part of it is widespread participation. Second part of democracy is, majority rules, because that's the basic, tenet of it, is everybody votes, and one person, one vote, and somebody with $1 million bank account has the same vote as somebody who doesn't have a bank account at all. everybody's vote counts the same. And then the third key part is debate and discussion. You can have real democracy, I think, without vigorous and engaged discussion among citizens and between the government and citizens about what people want. That means that everyone, from the politicians to the voters, have to have kind of an attitude of, again, respect. Like, I may not agree with you, but I'm willing to hear out what you say. And I'm also willing to look for places of common ground that we can build from. I think that we've lost some of that skill, and that has eroded the democracy, and we have to rebuild it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
What is
you.
your thoughts on the Democratic Socialist?
Well, again, great part of one reason people love New York, one reason I love New York is huge variety of points of view and backgrounds. People come here and from all over speak, 170, 190 languages. I don't agree with the socialist perspective that says the government should be running businesses and running industries. I think that we've seen, to take a good example, public housing is run terribly by the government. The New York City government is the worst landlord in New York City because there aren't too many private landlords who take 10 months to repair something, who would let a building full of people go months without cooking gas. And, the role of the government is to make sure that people who need help get help, and people who need opportunity get opportunity. It's not to run everything itself. The government should regulate businesses and provide social services to individuals, but shouldn't be trying to run, actual economic businesses itself. That does not work.
Okay, any words you have for District 26 on why you want to be supported?
I love the neighborhoods of this district. I've raised my wife and I raised our daughters here. I know the district very well. I represented a big part of it for years in the city council. I understand that a state legislator's job is both to go to Albany and make laws and to be on the ground in the district, getting the street light put in at the dangerous intersection, getting the park spruced up when the grass is all brown and it's dirt, getting the water trough put in at the dog park so that dogs can have some drinking water in the summer heat. It's taking care of the neighborhood in a very direct way, and I look forward to working for you in Albany.
Well, thank you so much, David, for your time. We hope that regardless of the election results, you continue to represent our community throughout your advocacy. So keep in mind, these special elections for the state Senate and Congress, our early voting starts on August 13th through August 21st. The primary election is on Tuesday, August 23rd. This is Brittany and Ariana reporting from Sunset Park, Brooklyn for SWC, and stay tuned for more.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.